So there are a few of you who have topics for your thesis that have to do with orientation of solar panels and solar collectors, that kind of thing. One of the drawings you do to support that is a solar study, and a solar study really is an illustration just showing your building and potentially your solar panels and how the sunlight is hitting those panels at a given time on a given day. So moving along with that a little bit, it is sensitive to where you are in the world, so we do need to specify in the software your location. That way it knows how high the sun actually is, more or less, for your location at a certain time. I'm sure this is not perfect by any means, but it's the best we can do in the software, so here we go. First of all, in order to locate your building, go to the Manage tab and look for Project Location. At the very top, we have actual location. The software defaults to Boston, but we can type in anything else here. Let's just say Charlottetown. PEI, sure, and I'll search. So, pretty quickly, it throws the icon on your screen of Charlottetown PEI, and although you can take this icon and move it anywheres, roughly, anywheres in the immediate area will be fine, because really it's not going to change much from here to there to there. So anywheres is absolutely wonderful, and just go with that. Click. Now with our location set, previously you would have had to have set the orientation of your building on your site anyway, and I know my ugly example building doesn't have much detail here, but for your site plan you would have had to have adjusted the rotation of your building to match your site. So that step really should be done first anyway. So with that step done, then you can move on to making a solar plan. The way we're going to do this is that we're going to actually use the default 3D view, and I'm going to duplicate this. It is a drawing after all, so it can be duplicated with detailing. Sure, I have no actual detailing anyway, but still, there we go. So now I have two default 3D views, right? And the reason why I'm doing this is that I'm going to change the name of this one eventually. I'll do it now. I'll call it January. And you would do one of these views for each month or every second month, or I guess really you could do just the 4 seasons for that matter as well, right? Because we can choose the solstice or the equinox within the software, and that will probably be sufficient for these drawings too. Doing 12 of these little drawings to arrange on a sheet can be tricky because the drawings are very small at the end. And so with that 3D view set, I'm going to go over to my view cube, and I'm going to click on the very, very top right corner here. And the reason why I'm doing this is that way it gives me a nice consistent view of my building, and I can duplicate that on every view afterwards too. But the reality is I'm going to set this once now and copy this view anyway for different months, so I shouldn't really need to adjust the view. But if by chance you get this all off axis and want to set it back again to the exact same perspective, view cube, top right corner, click, and there we go. So we've got the location chosen, building is chosen, turn shadows on. A little bit of shadow there right now. I have no panels in mind. Let's just pretend my roof is littered with solar panels. And I'm going to go down to sun settings. Click and sun settings. So it actually asks you, solar study, single day, still. This is really a still image. So the location has been specified. The date is here as well. You can choose your own date. So if I was choosing January, let's just say I will choose January because, I don't want 2020. January 1st. Why not? I'll go with the first of every month. Time of day for January. Let's say 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 o'clock in the afternoon probably, although I didn't do the research, I think it's probably the time of day when the sun is at its highest point for most months. And let's make that 00. I don't want AM. Be a pretty dark image otherwise, so PM. And ground plane at level 0. Sure. Top of footing, I'll say at level 1, which is actually closer to my site. For the ground plane, I'll click apply. So there's the shadow. I'll click OK. Secondary to choosing the time of day, right now the sun path is not turned on, so I'm going to go down here and choose the sun path on, and it shows me a little diagram of exactly where the sun is. January 1st, probably sun up to sun down, And there is the sun right there. So with that, that's really our first image, right? This is January. I have the section box turned on here for this site plan. I'm going to actually make this a little bit smaller in recognition that eventually I want to put a whole bunch of these drawings onto a single sheet. So, sun path is turned on, building's been located, and there we go. Shadows definitely have to be on as well. There's our first image done. So with that, right click, duplicate view with detailing. I get a second one. Let's say I'm doing one for each month. Although once again, I'm not sure it's necessary to do each month. You can gauge from your building and the size of your building. Actually, let me change this to June so it's more dramatic. Right click, rename, June. There we go. So I haven't changed anything else yet, and I can go back in the settings through this way, or because I can see them right now on the dial, the directional dial, I could choose this, and rather than being January, well, now it will become June. Let's say June 1st. So the path of the sun has changed pretty dramatically, right? 2 o'clock is over here. You can see the shadows are definitely different in June as well. So that becomes our second image. Right click, duplicate view, detailing. And let's call this one October. Same process. That, I'll choose a date. Let's say October 1st, sure, click again. And of course the path has changed yet again at 2 o'clock. So through doing this, eventually you'll have a series of these monthly drawings showing the path of the sun traveling across your building with its shadows, and they will get deposited onto a sheet. So I'll make a new sheet here. New sheet. I already have the sheet included. Great. And those few months we do have, under 3D views, where are you? There we go, January, June, October. So however many months you do have, drag and drop those onto your drawing. It might be gigantic, right? Like, look at the size of that thing. So definitely too large. Absolutely too large initially. Delete that guy. January. 1 to 100. Well, that's a pretty large scale for this little tiny drawing. So let's just say we're going 1 to 500. I don't really want any annotation turned off or on, so I would turn that off after the fact. I'm just doing this to check the scale. Back to my sheet. Back to January. Drag and drop. Definitely a little more appropriate now, because once again, it's just illustrating the motion of the sun traveling across and the shadows it casts on your building. So ideally, you would change that scale before you copied every single month, because now I'm forced to go back and choose June and do the same thing. So maybe make the first month, drag it onto your sheet, get a sense for how large it is, adjust the scale then, and then you can duplicate that to make additional months after the fact. Hopefully that information helps you make your solar study, and that's all I got for now.